Welcome, everyone, to the captive audience. It is the 22nd of September. I'm Kevin Hoare, and I am very honored to have with me tonight Representative Virgil Osborne and your district. Why don't we remind folks what your district is, Representative Osborne? Welcome to the show.
Kevin, thanks for having me on. And yeah, my district is House District 2, which is Southern Oregon, primarily Douglas County. I think 100% of my district actually falls within Douglas County, but there is some parts of Douglas County that are not in my district. And most beautiful place in Oregon, as I like to tell everybody, and that would be disputed by all of my colleagues, but that's fine.
Well, it's nice that everybody has that's an argument that everybody can win on, I think, at some point, because really there's just a lot of beautiful places here in Oregon, and we all are invested in them and care about them, and we just need probably some better policies to advance the prosperity and the safety and so on of the residents, of the citizens. But
New governor would be good. That'd be a great start. Republican governor, and then we could go ahead and get rid of about 2/3 of the majority of the House right now. That would be an improvement, and most of the Senate switch all to conservative like the rest of the country is doing. We'd have an awesome head start.
you'd have the only problem you'd have then is everybody would want to live here again, and that's
Right?
something that's changed. Actually, we were a place that for a very long time people really wanted to come, and then I think since 2017, it's actually started to tail off. First Portland, and then other places, and there's a lot to talk about on this. But I thought maybe tonight what we could do is start out by talking about some of the momentous events that we've all been surrounded by here for the past, well, 12 days. It's been 12 days, but it's been some of the most unusual 12 days that I think I've seen. And it was the day before 9/11. And who would have thought on 9/10 we'd be talking about something else on 9/11, the 24th anniversary, but we were. And you and I both had the privilege, and you spoke actually at a memorial in Roseburg. And then I stayed and hung around for the candlelight vigil, and it was pretty amazing actually. But so were the speeches and the thoughts and just the size of the crowd. What are some of your thoughts on what happened, what its meaning is, and what it meant to see all those folks coming out at that time?
Yeah, that's a lot to talk about. I was asked to speak, of course, and I had to come up with some sort of a speech that fit the I guess kind of fit the occasion, but I didn't want to be so radical that I don't want to instigate more violence, which is really easy to do right now because I mean, frankly, the conservative folks are really mad, and
Yeah.
so I think I probably wrote my speech about, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times. I don't know. I just kept going back and forth because I was so angry with what happened. But I know as a leader, you have to bring back some degree of, I don't want to call it tolerance because I don't think we should tolerate what happened, but I think you have to bring back in,
Civility.
yeah, civility into the mix. And so, I was the senior legislator in the event. Actually, it was kind of weird. I don't feel that old, but actually, I have more time in the House than either Alec or Court, and of course the seniority level goes up from commissioner up to the state rep. So,
Yeah.
I just wrote what I felt was kind of heartfelt speech, and I compared it to 9/11 and what happened on 9/12, and people really have forgotten about 9/11. We don't really teach it in schools. We don't really talk about it
No.
anymore. We were both around then, but that was 24 years ago. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the kids, especially the college age kids, were either too young to remember it or weren't even born yet. And so, history has a tendency to repeat itself if you don't study it and understand it. And that was kind of, I touched on that in my speech. It's one of those things that on 9/12 in 2001, and I remember exactly where I was on 9/11 because I was at a sales meeting in Charlotte, North Carolina, which I got to enjoy the nice drive home because I couldn't fly.
Yeah.
which was angering in itself. But it became pretty clear by the evening that that was a terrorist attack. I think at first,
Yeah.
in the morning there was still some questions as to possibly it wasn't, but I think that the entire country was mad. We got hit, and I think by 9/12, especially after George Bush spoke, and he said, and he said, we're going to hit back. We're going to get justice for what happened here.
Yeah.
It united the whole country and under God and under one cause, right? It's like we are going to be a country, and you can't just kick us in the teeth and expect us. America's a tough country. It's a great place. You can't just kick us in the teeth and expect us to lay there and take it. We're going to fight back. So I felt like this event was obviously done by a coward. I mean, coward is probably being complimentary toward this kid, but he did it, and honestly, I don't think it was a planned out thing. I don't think the Democrat Party was behind it, but have some freaking sympathy for a mother with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, that are now going to be raised without their father. Instead, you go on social media and you see people, basically cheering because Charlie Kirk was killed, and our local Democrat Party. Not one Democrat in our local party came out and made a statement about, denouncing the violence,
Yeah.
And here's the Republican Party. We're all going, well, we're not going to burn any buildings down because that's not what we do. We're not going to, beat up anybody in the streets unless they have it coming. I shouldn't say that. I did see one occurrence where somebody was making fun of Charlie Kirk, and I think, they probably chose the wrong time. But, I think it was a statement of our party and our people and the conservative movement, and frankly, the MAGA. I mean, I'm not a MAGA guy. I voted for Trump. I support Trump. I support his presidency. I don't stand on a street corner and talk about MAGA. I don't think this had anything to do with MAGA. I think this just had to do with the cowardly act, and frankly, a pretty damn lucky shot that he was able to pull off. So, it was very heartfelt. It was very nice to be part of that, and it was nice to kind of turn the volume down a little bit, turn the temperature down. I mean, it was we had more security there than most people even know.
Yeah, I did sense it. I mean, we all looked up, and at the top of the buildings, those were the good guys watching for the bad guys, and then there was security on the ground on each of the street corners. It was a serious matter. I think there was maybe one car that drove by full of yahoos that said something and nobody could figure out what they said. But Isn't it true that part of what shaped the reaction to this was also the fact that of what Charlie Kirk did? He didn't go out and tell people you should go and beat up people. He said you should go and have a dialogue with them and stand for your principles, but also talk to the people who disagree with you. And because he thought that was the key. That was like how you solve this. And the antithesis of that is what the shooter was. The shooter was, as you said, in many respects, a coward, somebody afraid to come up and discuss and debate. And we've seen it time and time again. And I do believe there's abundant evidence that right now it is people on the left who resort to violence when they lose an argument. It's unfortunate, but that's the pattern. The guy used the symbolism of Antifa. I'm very familiar with Antifa. I know what they do in Portland in great detail.
Yeah.
They aren't just in Portland, but they are anti-First Amendment. This guy that shot Charlie Kirk really did think that what he had to do was kill somebody for speaking their mind. And the Antifa people do that all the time against legitimate points of view, public policy functions, against the police. And it does seem like maybe if there is a turning point that's happening now, there's several, right? But one of them is maybe we're going to bring this era of tolerated political violence, at least for now, the type we're having, to an end.
Well, I think during the Trump administration, I don't think we're going to see the massive protests like we had a few years back during the start of well, the end of his last administration in Portland, where they were burning cars and flipping police cars over, and trying to burn
Mostly
buildings down.
peaceful.
Yeah, mostly peaceful. Yeah, and that's just such a lie. But I don't think we're going to see that. And you know what? God bless Trump, because you know what he did? He said, you know what? That's fine. You can have a crappy city full of crime, but we're going to send in the federal troops, and we're going to take it. We're going to take the job over, because obviously you can't handle the job. They did it in D.C. They're about ready to do it in Chicago. This country needs that, and that's number one. The acceptance and the tolerance of violence needs to be stopped. But then number two, we need to start listening to the people, not just, oh, well, I decided today, I woke up and I'm going to be, I'll be this gender today. So you have to follow me and make sure that everything I do is okay, and if you don't use my pronouns, then you are offending me. Well, I don't really give a shit. I'm not going to use pronouns because, well, I have some pronouns, but I don't usually say those on the air. But that's a form of tolerance that I'm okay with. It's like, I'll tolerate you. I don't care if you choose to be a furry or I don't know, pick a gender, whatever they call it. I don't care about any of that. Do it on your own time, and do it however you want to do it. Just don't force it on me. And don't think that it's okay that you get special treatments or special rights because you got up in the morning and you decided, well, I'm going to be a whatever. I don't even know. There are protected classes of people, by race and gender, et cetera, et cetera. Those protected classes, in some cases, make sense, right? I think gender does make a difference. There are two genders, and in certain situations, I think that it's okay to protect the gender. In other words, no men in women's bathrooms, right? I
Yeah.
think that's completely, women should, especially women's rights movements, women should be so pissed off about that, but yet they just tolerate it. I don't understand that. It's time for that stuff to come to an end, and it's time to get back to just common sense. I mean, I don't think this is political. I don't think this is Democrats versus Republicans. I really, truly believe this has raised itself to the level of, when some people call it a spiritual war. I don't know if I'd call it a spiritual war, but I think it's a matter of just doggone common sense. And our state leads the way on stupid. We can't seem to get out, we can't get out of our own way. I mean, this session was horrible. I mean, just horrible. From black drag queens dancing around in a freaking legislative floor session to some of the other nonsense bills paying people to go on strike. I mean, what are we doing here, guys? If I could say one thing to the Democrat Party, it would be, what are you doing? Are you trying to destroy this state? Because every policy that virtually every policy the Democrats came up with in this long session was a detriment to the state in some way, whether it costs more money, and of course the antithesis of it being the transportation package, which hasn't passed yet. But why would you do that to your people? And it is finally reached the point that it is their people. It's not just it's not just Southern Oregon. It's not just the rural counties. Now people are starting to hurt in urban, Portland.
Oh, sure.
So, maybe that's the tide turn, right? Maybe when they, I'm not, when I'm cutting down Democrats, we have some awesome Democrats in the House. I mean, Daniel Wynn is a chair of one of our committees. That guy, he's a Democrat, but what a great guy, and a business owner, understands it, has restaurants. Yet, even though
it should be common ground, right? And you should be able to break bread over something.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, I like him. There's some basic, platform issues that we'll never agree on. But the fact of the matter is, he gets it. But yet, he still pulls he occasionally will speak out against the policies on House floor, but he'll still vote in line with the party to not cross the caucus. And that's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Like, we're going to vote our conscience. We're going to vote, God, family, country, and Democrats are going to vote whoever's paying them for their campaigns the most, and it's usually SEIU. Whatever they want, they get. And and then you've got the LGBTQ crowd that just comes in behind it, and it's like you can't give them enough rights, right? But then again, our governor is homosexual herself. So, I mean, she can't ever buck that system. And I realize I'm probably touching on some really touchy grounds, to be talking about in public. And I want everybody to understand. I don't care if you are gay or lesbian or whatever. I don't care. That's fine with me. Don't make policies for 4.2 million people that revolve around that issue.
Yeah.
Make the policies for 4.2 million people good for 4.2 million people, and then whatever happens with the other thing happens.
And I think, and maybe another way of saying what you just said is that Democrats cater to giving special rights and privileges to special interests using government funds and taxpayer revenues that are actually meant to benefit the general welfare, everyone, right?
Right.
Equal justice under the law. And, I think even freedom of speech took a hit for a few years there. I think that what happened with Charlie Kirk was actually a wake-up call that everybody thought, well, I can just go and speak my mind wherever I am and it'll be fine. Now, actually, some people are going to have a problem with that. And our society needs to stand up against that, not just the person who's being attacked, because I don't think that attack was on Charlie Kirk. I think it was meant like a terrorist attack. It was meant to attack all of us, just like you were talking about 9/11. 9/11 was not meant to go and just kill a few people in a few planes and knock down a building. It was meant to send a message to everybody, right? That you're going to change your lives because of what we're going to do to you.
I think that's part of the reason that the planes that they picked had the name American Airlines on them, and
United.
I can't remember the other one, but United, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it was symbolic, if nothing else. It was a horrible, horrible thing. Again, cowards, right? I mean, I guess they're martyrs in their own way. They went to go see what is it, 7 virgins, I think you get when you die in their faith or something like that. Well, I hope they've enjoyed them. So
my favorite meme is that when they get up there, they find out it's 70 virgins, but it's a bunch of nuns with shotguns. So that's one of my favorites. But
that's fitting for sure.
Coming back to what you were saying about, I posted a few other things of stuff that I've seen that people have been saying here in Oregon, and it's troubling because I guess people didn't know how many complete fools there are that thought that we thought, they're teaching our kids, right? And they're working in schools. And one day you thought that's a responsible person. And then the next day you're like, they just said that murder was great.
Well, yeah. And then they're crying about losing their jobs. Frankly, if you're a public servant and you support a murderer, I guess you could call it an assassin, but I'll just flat out call it a murderer because that's what he was. You shouldn't be a public servant, and you dang sure shouldn't be teaching our kids. I mean, the First Amendment guarantees you the right of free speech. It does not guarantee you freedom from the consequences of your free speech. And I think that's where they messed up. They're like, well, we're just going to go ahead and celebrate. I know there's a lady on TikTok, I think it's Megan Farina, who has 667,000. I think she's down to 660,000 now. She lost some followers, but she did a thoughts and prayers video for Charlie Kirk, and she was making fun of him when she was doing it. And I mean, they have literally destroyed her life. I mean, they have even her neighbor gave up her address where she lives, and her husband's business has just been bombarded with bad reviews, and people have gone in and confronted him, and it's like, again, they're not burning their house down. If that was the Democrats, they'd probably be burning their house down. But we have to, as a civil nation full of Americans, we have to be civil to each other. It's okay to disagree. But don't support a murderer. I mean, that kid doesn't know what he did. He just didn't know how to deal with it in any other way. So he chose the easiest path for him. He's probably played video games most of his life, and he did, murder to him is just a matter of clicking a button or pulling a trigger. And he's not going to be a martyr. He's going to be, hopefully he gets a death sentence. But either way, he's gone forever, and his name will be forgotten if it's not close to forgotten already. And his intention and if there was a movement behind it is also gone. So it's
I
tragic.
hope that it's gone. I hope that it's gone, but I do know that there are too many people saying the same thing that guy was saying who
Yeah.
feel like they can do that without consequences, and they actually act on it. And so maybe I just think a lot of public officials, I know that you're one of the ones who stands up and speaks your mind and says, this is right, that's wrong, I'm voting for right. And I'm happy to explain it, but here's what I'm going to do. But there's a lot of people that like to ride the fence and have it both ways. In Portland, I know. And in Portland, there are a lot of people that looked the other way for hundreds of days while all this destruction and there was a murder, and they just like, well, they're just protesting. This is just their First Amendment speech. I'm like, no, that's not the First Amendment. And also, it's not the First Amendment for them to go and say that we're going to kill you if you say something. And our country breaks down pretty quickly if you can't speak your mind without being shot and killed.
Yeah, and I've had people reach out to me, relatives and close friends, and say, hey, you really need to be careful that, and of course I'm not stupid. I'm not going to just, put myself in a bad position or situation on purpose. But the fact of the matter is, kind of like Donald Trump, and I said it in my speech, Donald Trump, a couple of days after the shooting, was on Fox News, and somebody asked a question, or he was commenting on a question that somebody had asked about what do we do moving forward? How do we, what do we do? How do we get over homes? And he said, you just got to do it. Politics is not a safe business, and you just got to do it. He's almost been killed twice that we know of.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Nobody knows better than him, right?
Right. If you have to live under tyranny, I'd rather die fighting. I'm not going to die on my knees. So I'm not stupid, and I am inclusive. I'm not going to stand on a corner and say everybody's bad if they don't agree with me, because that's not how I feel. But I'm not going to get bullied. I mean, I know how to fight back, and I'll do it. And at the end of the day, I'm in this position for me, but I'm also in this position for the people of Oregon and for the people in my district that put me there. They wanted a fighter. They didn't want somebody that was going to go in there and just roll over and stay on the fence all the time. When my predecessor actually, I think, did a lot of that, and they didn't like that. It's like the timber industry. When I went to them and spoke to them before as I was getting ready to announce my first run in 22, they almost to a T, almost all of them said, well, we're comfortable with my predecessor. I won't mention his name. We're comfortable with him because he doesn't really do anything for us, but he's not against us.
And he doesn't hurt us, and right. He answers our phone calls.
Yeah. I said, well, welcome to a different world, because I'm going to fight like hell for you guys. And nothing's going to get, just like the wildfire deal that we did, it's like I held the entire committee accountable for that vote when they did not vote through the process to get those maps rescinded, and they know it. And I said it, I posted it, I played it online, and I meant every word I said. And you know what? It almost died on the House floor eventually. How would they have looked if that had died, right? I mean, to me, what a great reason to vote somebody out of office. But, and frankly, I think anybody that voted for the transportation package at the the $4.3 billion tax increase, how you could vote for somebody that would vote yes on that, regardless of your principles, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, or what. That person shouldn't be in the seat anymore. They should be gone.
Well, District 32 is going to be an interesting race because Representative Javadi decided, I think he made a very, very bad decision. And I frankly think he wasn't straight with the voters or the rest of the caucus. From all I've interviewed several reps and on captive audience, and they've said, well, he told us in our retreat that he was with us. And he actually told people in his TV ads and his mail pieces in 2024 that, he was going to keep taxes down and he wasn't going to support, all these tax and fee increases. And he did something different. So now this is where the voters will get a say. But you're right. It's also up to us to call everybody out who's not doing the right thing. And I think it's an admirable trait because a lot of people just want to go along to get along. I just posted, by the way, Oregon's congressional delegation There was a resolution. It was, when you read it, you're like, it's very neutral and non-political. It really was just commemorating and memorializing Charlie Kirk and his impact on the country, without advocating for a point of view about policies. And we have 6 members of Congress, and 5 of them voted present. They didn't even vote no. It's almost like more honest to vote no if you really meant no, but present is like what you were just talking about that your predecessor did. Just, I'm not going to, take a position. I'm just going to let you know I'm unhappy. And, Cliff Bentz is the only one who voted for it, but.
Yeah, it's cowardly. That's what it is. And going back to Rep. Javity, so we did have a retreat, and I'm sure I haven't watched all of your podcasts, but I know you've spoken to some of my colleagues, so I'm sure you're aware of this. So we did have a retreat in January. We'd selected officers, and we'd done some, basically got together and said, okay, these are the things that we're going to stand for in this session. And I don't know what the first thing, but it was one of the top 3 was we will not support any new taxes. And I think there might have been one no, I don't even think there was an exception. I think everybody to the last person agreed to that. Everybody was there, and Javity was one of them. And he agreed to it. He would not support new taxes. So he lied to the caucus, he lied to his constituents, and frankly, it was a really coward move to do what he did. Now, I didn't pick on him. I didn't really come out and say much about what he was doing because, he felt somewhat attacked in our caucus because we didn't, during the session when he was trying to run bills like the transient lodging tax change, we didn't support that. And frankly, I still don't support it. And it was a bad idea, and it got killed in the Senate. And it was his bill, and we told him. It wasn't like it was a secret when he got to the House floor. He knew we weren't going to support it. Well, it got through the House and died the Senate. Well, that offended him to the point where, that and a few other things. I think this is why he changed parties, because he felt, like he wasn't one of us, so to speak. And frankly, he's not. He is a coward.
He revealed more reasons too after. I don't think he told everybody all these other reasons he had, which, I think.
And like I said, I never picked on him. I never really came out and said much against him until he came out against us, when he started revealing all these things on how the Republican Party is so corrupt and bad and, whatever. I don't even remember what he said, but it's like, okay, the gloves just came off. You want to be a jerk, then we're going to play back. And frankly, I am happy that he has gone to the Democrats because that's where he belongs.
Yeah.
So yeah,
at least that's one honest thing he's doing in this process, is he's saying, well, then I'm one of these guys now, so the voters can decide and judge his record.
And frankly, how could a Democrat support a liar? The guy's a liar. He's a blatant, cowardly liar. When it came to policy, he was elected under policy, and he absolutely went against everything he was elected for. So if a Democrats elect him as a Democrat, he's gonna, and also, you think back, he also supported or didn't support. He voted against abortion. He voted against the gun bill, like the Republicans did. So if he's a Democrat, evidently he's beyond a moderate Democrat. All of the touch points for them, he was on our team then. So what do you have besides traitor? I don't really believe in the word rhino because I think it's just an incendiary. I hate that word, but the guy is a piece of work, a piece of. I can't say what I want to say a lot, but I'm not going to do it. I know how these podcasts go.
Yeah.
Well,
speaking of another piece of work, we have a governor who just. I sent this to you because my jaw dropped when I read this. This is the governor who said she's going to build 36,000 houses, I think, a year, right? And she gets like a third of that done. And then she gets 2.5 years into her tenure. And she says, you know what, I think we might have to do something about the regulations and the fees and the permitting to make it easier for homes to be built. It's like 2.5 years it took. And then this one just took the cake. it is Oregon Governor Tina Kotek said last week, she directs agency leaders to begin immediate cost-saving measures. Now, she says the reason why they're doing it is because of the tax connection to the federal taxes on the Trump One Big Beautiful Bill, HR 1, and that it'll change the taxable income here in Oregon for Oregon taxes. And she's saying only now is she telling people that she wants immediate cost-saving measures and further reductions. Isn't that the first thing you do when you get into office? And it's certainly not something you wait until you're actually starting to see less money coming in. You're supposed to do it when you're making the budget. What is that?
Yeah, I can only think that she's trying to save face a little bit because of this transportation tax, because she's not looking so good right now.
No, and it's still not done.
No, it's not done. And if she was smart, which I've never accused her of being, if she was smart, she would call the special session to a close and let this thing ride out till the short session, and then listen to the Republicans. If nothing else, just listen, and then come up with a plan that everybody can live with. But instead, she's got herself in the crosshairs of a recall. Not that I believe the recall is necessarily going to be successful, but it could be. But and I hope it is. But in ways I hope it is. In ways the number 2 guy is not great either. But it's not one of those things you want to be facing when you're running for an office. When the word on the street is they want to recall you for such a piss poor job. Politically, other than the fact that she's a bully, and that's not a secret. I mean, she was a bully when she was a Speaker of the House. Everybody knows it. But politically, I don't know how you do any more political suicide than what the Democrats have been doing lately.
We shouldn't interrupt them. They're doing a great job.
No, I think we let them. I think we let them go ahead and slit their wrists and then get in the bathtub and finish doing the job. But I don't understand. I mean, they gave us a gift as a Republican Party when they voted in the House, when all of them voted yes on that bill, and we should be making hay. In all of our campaigns, and of course, it's just now getting started. But in all of our campaigns, and especially in campaigns where we have a Republican challenging a Democrat, that should be number one, top of mind. Every piece of literature that goes out in mail, every conversation that we have at town halls, like, oh yeah, by the way, my opponent just voted yes on the biggest tax increase in the history of the state. Just so you know. So when you
93% of the people giving input on this were against it.
Yeah,
that takes something. Like our folks to even get motivated to go and provide testimony. That it's not easy. The other side has their sort of AstroTurf paid operatives and an army of lobbyists who are all pulling up at the trough to get some of this money and all that. And yet 93% of the testimony was negative about the transportation bill. And they're like, we're doing it anyway.
They really did. They just shoved it right through the House. I mean, as a Republican, that's a guaranteed loss of a seat. I mean, and I think that's also why Javity switched parties, because he knew that there was a chance he was going to win on a Republican ticket. And obviously he likes the power, right? I have people all the time, and I have my haters in the Republican Party, and I have people, believe this or not, I have people that say, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know you know who they are. Oh, Virgil just goes along to get along. Name one freaking time. Just name it, right? I don't go along to get along with anything. I have taken some bad votes, nothing of any significance, but there was a vote or two that I wish I could have taken back. But I don't go along to get along. I think that Javity, there's just no chance he was going to get elected as a Republican again after doing that. And I think that forgot where I was going with the go along, get along thing. But anyway,
you said something actually about this. You said he loves the power. Well, guess what?
Loves the power, right.
That kind of defines the Democrats in many respects. They've kind of sold their soul for whatever power they can get, and they figured that they've gotten good at getting it and holding on to it. But haven't they pushed people too far? And they can't say bipartisanship anymore. They just can't.
Well, and going back to, now that you got me back on track, sorry. uh, the power issue. It's like, when you sit in this seat, when you're elected in a seat, there's a couple of reasons why you'd want to run for it. Number one, it's a pristine, perceived thing. You want people to like you, and then there's the people that run because they want to represent, and that's where I put myself. And then there's just the people that just want the power of being able to say, hey, I'm a state rep or I'm a state senator, and you got to listen to me, whether or not they're successful or not. I think I never really thought that about Javity, but now that I've watched his pathway, that what he's done, I think it is about power for him. I think he wants to have. It's not about money. The guy's pretty wealthy. I mean, he's a dentist. He makes plenty of money. It's all about power. To me, this position, it's not about power. I'm very humble to the people I represent, and I also don't take any shit. Right? I mean, when it comes to people, trying to put me into a box that I just flat am not part. If I need to be in the box, I'll jump in the box. But if you're going to try to put me in a box because you just don't like me because of the color of my hair, or because I live in the country, or because I drive a Jeep, or whatever it is, well, move along, because I don't care.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that does really seem to define Republicans, is they think for themselves and they do the thing that they think is right, which makes it hard for us sometimes to achieve the unity that we need, right? Because then everybody can be like pointing in all different directions. But we actually do think for ourselves. While the Democrats, they kind of have an iron-fisted approach. There are people that run things, and they are often associated with the public employee unions, but not only.
Yeah.
And if you get out of line, they have a chat with you. You're not.
They'll run you out of office. They'll go out and they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they'll put people in the streets to go door to door to make sure that you are taken out.
Yeah.
And Kotek knows that. I mean, she has been the instigator and the person who has done that in the past to people. I mean, on the House floor, even when she was Speaker. So, if you're afraid of losing your position because you made a good decision, I'm sorry for you, but that just makes you a coward.
Well, so what do you think is going to happen from here? Because I know we've got the special session. I think it's inevitable that the transportation bill will pass, but I guess maybe Mark Meek could vote against it, but I think they wouldn't even be delaying it to this point if they didn't think they at least had his vote. And then Senator Gorsuch has got the medical treatment. When he comes back, that's when they should have enough people to vote the bill through. But now they're talking about how they're losing all this money. They say they're going to lose $800 million in revenue because of the things that the One Big Beautiful Bill added to the tax laws. And I know of only 4 things that bill added that are large and consequential. One of them is for businesses, which is that allows them to deduct all of their capital expenditure in 1 year instead of waiting to do it over multiple years, which is huge because it incentivizes businesses expanding and buying equipment and doing what we would like to see more of in Oregon. But the other three, I don't understand why they want to tax these people, because that's what it means to make up for the 800 million. One is people who earn overtime.
Right.
The other is people who earn tips
Yeah.
as part of their job. And the other one is people who rely on Social Security. And they're saying we are losing a bunch of money, so we have to go tax these things anyway. Are they helping billionaires? Are they hurting billionaires when they go after those 2 things? That's what I keep hearing, that they're fighting against the billionaires.
Kevin, if you could tell me where there's any sense in the actions that these people take, other than pure greed, I don't understand it. I mean, tax on tips. So that, and Rep. Reschke is much more versed on this than I am. But there was in our budget we had a briefing from the I guess Ways and Means in the House, the Budget Committee, And basically, they were talking about decoupling the Oregon taxes from the federal taxes, which meant that the tax on tips would remain in Oregon, but not even though the feds have said no tax on tips, they were gonna it would have kept it going for I think 2 or 3 more years or something like that. And I'm like, why? Are you really losing that much revenue because of that? I mean, you can only tax the people so much. We're losing our businesses like as fast as people can leave the state, they're leaving the state. And those businesses are taking jobs. And some of these businesses that like Intel and there's a few others that pay very high. I mean, these are very, very good jobs.
Lucrative jobs. That's right.
Yeah, lucrative. They're leaving. And God help us when Nike finally packs up and leaves, and they might. I have no idea that. I mean, I'm not trying to create any, undue, worry. But I don't. I mean, if I was Nike and I had that beautiful campus in Beaverton, and Texas is saying, hey, come here, and we won't tax you for 10 years, and we'll help you pay for your new campus, and whatever. The door would not hit me on the ass. I would be gone.
Well, this is something real, isn't it? Because a lot of these companies have operations in other states and around the world.
Yeah.
And some of those other places, they're still expanding, but they're not doing it here. And Intel's an example, because we lost a whole future chip fabrication and research and development thing to Ohio. Yeah. So they're still doing that there, but they're saying, I don't know about Oregon. And I can't, for the life of me, can't imagine why Tina Kotek didn't make a big stink before Dutch Brothers left. If you can't keep a coffee company headquartered in your state, what can you do?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know there's a lot of history there with Dutch Bros too. I mean, people, I don't know if they realize or not, but one of the owners of Dutch Bros spent a ton of money in Grants Pass trying to get that casino put in, and the government didn't come to their aid. So they spent all that money and then didn't end up winning in the end. And I think there was some bad blood there that probably helped make some decisions there. I don't know. I don't talk to Dutch Bros, but I don't know why our governor just keeps on running businesses out of the state unless, socialism works in funny ways. Socialism will eat the host until the host is dead, and then the whole country, their whole state dies because of it. And I feel like we're eating the host right now. That we're taking money away from people that are working for a living and trying to. Hell, I don't make that much money as a legislator, and I have to actually. And my wife's in a bad situation right now. She's in a home because she has Alzheimer's, and I have to budget my money to make it through the month because of that. And my power bill just went up to $300 a month. And in the past, it's been about $200 on the heavy months, and now it's 30% higher than it used to be. And that's 100%, 110% the Democrats' fault.
Yeah, it's policy driven.
Policy driven. They're trying to kill our power companies. And I know why they're doing it. And I've said this before. If the state can make it to where the power companies can exist, and they're not that far from it, then the state will end up taking over those. They're not going to let us go without electricity. The state will end up taking over those agents, or those companies, Pacific Power here, whatever, Douglas, like whatever it may be. And then the state will decide how they're going to bill out. So what that means is all of us will be paying for all those people that can't afford to pay for their power.
Yeah.
They'll socialize power just like they want to do with medicine.
Socialized power, yeah.
Socialized power, and then everybody's power bill will go down. That's crap. Everybody's power bill will go up because we have to pay for all of those people that don't pay for their own power bills. So,
and the data centers, which are going to have an exponential increase in how much electricity they're going to draw. And we have several of them here, but they don't seem to have a plan. I don't hear a plan where Oregon turns this around. And I was, just by coincidence, I was going through some of the headlines that describe Oregon's economy. These are all recent. Eugene home prices doubled over the past decade. CNBC ranks Oregon among the most expensive states.
Yeah.
Oregon among states with highest unemployment increases. Oregon, one of the worst states to move to. Oregon mass layoffs approach Great Recession levels. Oregon is one of the worst states for business, according to CNBC. Nearly half of all Oregon families struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, if you think, well, we'll just make sure we'll turn it around in the future, Oregon math reading achievement among nation's worst.
Yeah.
You know,
48.
they suck at everything.
Yeah, we're in a mad race to get to the bottom, and boy, we're doing it. You know, Oregon, and I on the House floor, I did a remonstrance about how many years we've had Democrat ruling governors and Democrat leaning administrations, and at the time it was 38 years that we'd been under Democrat rule. The policies have gotten worse and worse, and they have focused on environmental, climate change, everything except the people, especially rural people, but not just rural people. Their policies hurt the underserved, and so when you're hurting the people that you're trying to protect, so then you have to go take care of those people, which means it's going to cost money from everybody else to take care of those people. It's a welfare thing. There is no reason in the world why we shouldn't have nuclear energy here. We should have, the small nuclear reactors that are being built. We should have those here. Those should be taking up some of the slack. If they really want to get rid of fossil fuels, then they have to give a little bit. I just went last week to a hydrogen seminar for fuel, and it was an interesting seminar. And I was on a panel of representatives and a couple of experts on the whole thing, and there was a lot of discussion. And I said, well, what they're doing is they're comparing the price of hydrogen right now to price of diesel. So hydrogen's running on average about $4. It would be about $4 a gallon, even though they do it in gas measurements. But and I said, congratulations, you put yourself out of the opportunity to actually become relevant. I go, if you want to become relevant, make people want to use your product, and using your product means you have to give them some incentive to buy it, and making it as expensive as what they're already paying. And I know what they'll do. They'll raise the price because fossil fuels are going up because of our poor policies we've had, and they'll just keep raising the price of hydrogen, and then they'll try to force people to drive hydrogen cars. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I'm not going to buy one.
The key thing that you said is they're going to force people to do something. And that's not how our society works. That's not freedom. No, economic freedom is important.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the turning point. Hopefully when even the Democrats have had enough, they'll go, wait a second, we didn't vote for this crap. Right now they're so busy hammering on Trump for actually doing good things that they don't know they have. I swear, love him or not, the guy is winning. He win. And every time something happens, he wins. And, they've tried to get him with lawfare. They've tried to arrest him. They've tried to stop his policies. They tried everything they can. And
tried to shoot him. Yeah.
They tried to shoot him twice that we know of. And he's winning. And why is he winning? Because most of the people in the United States are tired of this crap that we've been dealing with for so many years. Particularly in the Biden administration, but not just the Biden administration. I mean, there was Obama administration, and it goes on and on, it goes back. And I don't think, as much as I like Bush, I don't think he was a great president when it came to some of this stuff either. Reagan was really the guy that turned a lot of things around. But, I think people are tired of it. And what does Oregon do? We double down. We go bluer, so my hope is that we can pick up some seats in the next election.
Well, I think there's a good chance of that, and I think the people who say, "Well, it's a presidential midterm, you're going to lose seats," and blah blah, I don't buy that. I think that that's not what's happening. If you look at what's happening, and by the way, the Democrats have a lot of self-inflicted wounds, a lot of problems, and we don't have to go into detail into this tonight, but Senator Wyden's wife hit with staff suicide lawsuit. I mean, this is the type of stuff that turns into these long narratives. He's a senator. He's a senior senator on the Democrat side, and he's been there forever, and he thought he'd probably just stay, but I don't know what's going to happen. We might get into that into tomorrow night's show, but there's a lot of stuff that's not happening the way the Democrats, I think, are assuming. And this Charlie Kirk thing has created a rebound. There's a whole bunch of people that say, I wasn't going to get involved in politics.
Now they are.
I'm gonna, including churches who just sat on the sideline, and many of them didn't vote when they should have. And they're starting to sing a different tune.
And the non-affiliated voters, which there's outnumber the Democrats even in this state, it might be time for them to wake up and realize, you know, I swear, as big as the Charlie Kirk thing was as a nation, the biggest thing in Oregon right now is this transportation bill. Everybody's talking about this. Now, a lot of people go to sleep.
Yeah, they're all unhappy.
Yeah, they're all unhappy about it. A lot of people kind of go to sleep and they forget, you know, what was the problem, you know, last week. But this is a serious deal. And here's the other part of that. If it does actually pass, you do have the ability to put it on the ballot as a referendum. And now that doesn't take away all of the other stuff. You can only put the tax part on the ballot. So there's still the increase in fees and registration and all the other BS that's in it will still happen. But if that does go to the ballot, that is going to bring every Republican in the damn state out to vote. And it should bring some of the moderate Democrats and the non-affiliated. Democrats have lined themselves up to lose. And I've said it in 22, and we actually picked up 2 seats in 22, but God help us if we can't turn this thing around this go. I'm still here. People all the time are telling me they're leaving the state, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna keep fighting it out. I'm not going. But I'll tell you what, when I retire, I don't know if I can afford to live in this state.
Yeah, it's the scariest state in the nation to die.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that way. I mean, it's a horrible thing to think, you know. And as a leader, I don't even want to say it, but the fact is, you know, I'm fortunate enough that my house is paid for. I made some decent money over the years, and I got my house paid for, and I don't have any intentions of leaving. But if I was trying to buy my house today, it's 2 times what I paid for it. Actually, probably 2.5 times what I paid for it in 2007. I could never afford it. So, that's, and people are like, well, you know, that's because of all these rich, you know, whatever. It's like, no, it's because the policies in this state are so freaking horrible. Only the people with a lot of money can afford to come here. We're killing the class of people that they say they're trying to protect. The underserved and the middle class in Oregon are dying. I mean, can't afford it. And we're running businesses out of business. So how you losing your health insurance? Oh, well, that's an easy answer. They just do socialized health care, right? Well, that's a disaster in itself. But then we'll just raise minimum wage. Well, what does that do? That puts more businesses out of business. You know, just
why don't they raise the minimum wage to $1,000 an hour? We'll all be rich. You know, I mean, they don't seem to get it. They don't understand economics. And my favorite saying from Margaret Thatcher is socialism is great until you run out of other people's money.
That's right.
And they leave in the case of states.
They kill the host, right? The host has the money, and when the host is dead, the rest of the state died. And it's been proven all over the world. I mean, there's been many countries that have failed socialist countries, and it just doesn't work. But this state and California and Washington are quickly going down that path. I don't get that. I mean, California is a lost cause. I mean, whatever. I lived there for once and never again. Washington is a beautiful state full of great people. And they're in the same boat we are. Their legislature is heavily Democrat, and they just keep passing horrible policies. And they've got their Portland is actually Seattle. It's a dead city and dying. You know, our Portland is a disaster. And here's something else that about a month ago, it occurred to me, because we have this huge problem in Southern Oregon with homeless people, right? And we're not, you know, Roseburg's not a big town. I think we're like 24,000 or something like that. And we don't have a lot of services, but the people just seem to like come here. They just flood this place with homeless people. It's like, what is the damn attraction to come here? Well, it occurred to me after giving it a lot of thought, part of the attraction is, and I'm sure there's other things, but part of the attraction is, it's not safe to be homeless in Portland. They attack each other. They steal from each other. They take their drugs. They take their tents. And what we have down here, a lot of what you see are homeless couples that have left the urban areas, not necessarily Portland, it could be Eugene, whatever, and they've come to rural areas because it's safer to be homeless here. You can camp and you don't have to worry about, getting assaulted for now. I mean, it's getting worse, but that's why they're coming to the rural parts of Oregon. That's why they're bringing their, there's motorhomes all over the friggin' place down here. And Grants Pass has the same problem. It's like, where the heck did these people come from? Well,
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just safer to not be in an urban setting. So what does that say about Portland? I mean, Portland is dying. I mean, even the homeless people are leaving Portland.
Yeah, it's so bad that the homeless can't stand it anymore. Then actually, it is circling the drain, but it's kind of like a black hole because it runs the state, so it could suck down the rest of the state unless we pull it back. But I think you're onto something. We can do this in 2026, and the Democrats are doing everything they can to help us if we do the work and step up and win. Thank you for joining me here tonight. I just want to make sure that folks know how to get to follow you and get more information. I'll just name off the 2 websites and I'll post them here. OregonLegislature.gov/Osborne is where they can follow you and your the things you put out from your state legislative office. And the other one is VirgilOsborne.com, and I'll post that too.
And you can also follow me on Facebook. I mean, if people want to find me, that's pretty easy to do. And my podcast has gone pretty viral. We actually are just now getting.
Tell folks about how they can follow your podcast.
Yeah, so we started an On the Verge podcast, and that's what it's called, On the Verge. And there's actually an On the Verge Facebook, but I run all of the production right now through my personal Facebook, which is Virgil Osborne, on whatever Facebook. We're slowly transitioning that in because I have a lot of followers, so we're slowly transitioning that over. But recently we had 463,000 views over the last 28 days or 14 days actually. So it's increased to the point where the radio station actually contacted us and said they would like to rebroadcast our podcast once a week, and so that's happening. And I'm not positive because I was out of town over the weekend, but I think maybe on Friday they did the first one. I think that was what it was scheduled to do. I'm really easy to find, and please feel free to follow. And our podcast, we shoot live, and we take questions and comments live on Facebook, and eventually we will have, and we're on 13 different platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music. So we're easy to find. Come and watch us. We are conservative. So are you, Kevin. But our podcast, and I tell everybody right at the start of the podcast, this is a conservative voice of Southern Oregon. If you don't like what we have to say on our podcast, then please don't listen. Go down to speak to Justin at Little Mill Media, and he'll come up with a podcast just for you, and you can have your very own podcast, and you don't have to worry about mine. But anyway, so yeah.
Well, that's great, and I'm so glad to hear that it's getting some air and some attention, and people can get that information by looking for you on Facebook. I think I found you here on Facebook, so I'll just post that, and then
I think it says
they can go ahead
Twin Peaks owner or something like that.
Yes,
should say,
exactly.
Yeah, that's my little small business I run. We just found it easier to run that podcast through that site for now, but eventually, as our On the Verge Facebook grows, we'll run everything. We'll switch everything to that. But if you want to see it live, you'll have to go. And tomorrow night, at 6:00, we go live. Interestingly enough, on our podcast tomorrow, I have a friend of mine that I work with. Actually, I work for her I do some fire resiliency stuff with her. Her daughter and I went to breakfast a couple days ago, and her daughter's 17. She goes to Glide High School, and she's not necessarily a Republican or a Democrat, so to speak, but of course, her mother is a Republican, but she was just going off about the school and what they're teaching and some of the things over the Charlie Kirk thing. And so I asked her, I said, Katie, would you like to be on our podcast with your mother's permission and talk about those things? And she was just absolutely. And I'm like, okay. I said, but the things you say, people might get mad at you for saying. She goes, I don't care. I want to say them. I said, well, Tuesday night, you have the floor. So you're going to hear from a 17-year-old for, almost an hour.
Wow.
And it should be interesting. Yep. I asked her to go back and come up with 10 topics that she wanted to talk about, and she did. I just got them today. So we're going to let her kind of have the floor, and we'll protect her. And I'm going to talk about comments, and we're not going to accept. We'll just delete nasty comments. But I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, we're in a special moment in time where young people are speaking out, and actually this could be what we need to turn the nation around. Ultimately, they're going to be around longer than any of us.
Yeah, well, I love going to the high schools and speaking. In fact, this Wednesday I have an event. It's in the evening with the Roseburg High School with their robotics class that they've asked me to come and speak about politics and stuff. And I have always offered anybody that would like to come to the Capitol, when we're in session or when we're in the building, that wants to have a tour of the building or talk about how the building works and what we do. My job, and I think it should be every legislator's job, we need to educate the public on what it is we actually do, because people have no idea. Some of the comments, some of the comments are like, it doesn't work that way. So we want to make sure they know how things work so that we're doing what they expect us to do.
Yeah, got to demystify it and give them a roadmap to helping you help state. So
yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. This is fun. I always like coming on your podcast. I appreciate it. Even though it was kind of a short notice, I'm glad I was able to do it. So
I really appreciate you and adjusting the time here when we had to start a little bit late. But it's been a great show, and I again appreciate everything you do, the podcast, serving our state, and speaking out and being a voice that everyone can listen to and understand. And as you said, march to the beat of your own drum, which is exactly what we should encourage everyone else to do too.
Amen to that. Right on.
Thank you. Well, appreciate it.
Yeah. Until next time, take care.
Yep. You as well. And thanks everyone for listening and watching. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Captive Audience. Share it with everyone you can, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.